Hello and welcome to Professor Pincushion. I'm Tova, and in today's tutorial I'm going to show you how to create a dog leash and treat bag. Making a leash for your dog is easy and fun. I'll lead the way so you'll be able to make one in no time. Also, as a bonus, I'll show you how to make this cute attachable treat bag that can hook onto your new leash. Ready to get started on a new project for your dog? Let's go ahead and get started. Let's take a look at some of the supplies I'm going to be using for this project. First, I have my nylon strapping. So this is 1 inch in width. Of this, I have 2 1/4 yards. If you want to decorate with ribbon, you're going to need about 2 1/2 yards if you just want to put it on one side of the strap. If you want to put it on both sides, then I would double it. This is 7/8 of an inch in width. I have sewing scissors, top stitch, all-purpose thread, sewing gauge, fabric marker, a swivel quick snap. I picked this up at my local hardware store, but you can also get it at your fabric store. And then a swivel hook. This I picked up at my fabric store, and this part, the base, is meant to fit the 1 inch strap. You need 1 D-ring. I have fabric, so I have my lining, and then I have a canvas type fabric that I'm using for the outer shell. This is just a regular 100% cotton. Of both of these, you really don't need that big of a piece. I would say about 1/8 of a yard, or you can just use some scraps if that's what you have. Of the hook and loop fastener, you only need a few inches, so I'm just using about 3 inches of each side of that, and this is 5/8 of an inch in width. Then you need 1/4 inch twill tape or ribbon, and again you only need a little bit, maybe about 3 inches. Then you have fabric sealant. This is to help us deal with the fraying from the straps, and our pattern, which you can download off our site. The first thing I'm going to do is attach my ribbon to my nylon strapping. Place the ribbon on top of your strapping with the ribbon right side up, and I'm going to go along the full length of my 2 1/4 yards of the strapping material. So I'm just going from one end to the other. I'm going to pin it, and then I'm going to do a basting stitch. You can see I'm just doing it on one side. So I'm going to do a basting stitch on this edge and then a basting stitch on this edge. Now if you just want the ribbon attached to one side and not doing it two-sided like I am, instead of a basting stitch, you can go ahead and make that a regular length stitch. My basting stitch is just the longest stitch on my machine. You don't have to worry about doing any sort of back stitching. It's really just to temporarily hold this ribbon on until I get the other side pinned on, and then they'll all be stitched together. It just makes it a little bit easier to do this ahead of time. So I'm going to do this side, and then I'm going to go ahead and do this other side as well. If you're like me and you want to apply ribbon to the other side, just flip this over. Grab your ribbon, and you're going to lay it on this side and pin it, and in this case we're actually going to do a regular stitch on both sides, and that's going to permanently attach both sides of the ribbon to your nylon strapping. When you do this stitch, don't forget to do your back stitching on both sides, and I usually like to start on the same side of the leash. So I'm starting on this end when I sew this one, and I'm starting on the same end when I'm sewing this side as well. Once you finish, you can go ahead and remove those basting stitches on the other side if you wish. Now we're going to attach our main swivel hook, and you're going to take one end of your leash, you're going to put on the swivel hook, and you're going to fold it over about 2 inches and 3/8, 2 3/8 inches. And what you can do for this side is you have a choice. You can either fold this over or fold it under about 1/4 of an inch and stitch across it. Or if you're like me, I did a lot of my little fabric sealant right on the end here, so it's nice and sealed and it's not going to fray anymore. And I'm just going to leave it flat, and I'm going to actually stitch a box with an X in it. I used a fabric marker to draw the design that I'm going to do. So it's a box with an X. It just makes it a little bit easier when I'm at my sewing machine. But regardless, even if you're doing this where you're folding it over and you're just doing a couple of stitches back and forth, just make sure that whatever stitching you do it multiple times. So you're not just stitching it once and then leaving it. Some of us have dogs that pull, and we want to make sure that this is not going to be the point where our leash could potentially break apart. For this part, I like using a walking foot. So if you have one, it does make it easier, but it's not necessary. And some people like to use top stitch or heavy duty thread for this part, just to make it even more secure. Now if you do that, put the top stitch heavy duty thread in the threading of the top part of the machine, in my bobbin, you'd still have all-purpose thread. Regardless, even if you use all-purpose thread for both, you're going to make sure, again, that you stitch everything multiple times because we want to make sure nothing's going to come apart. Next, we're going to do the handle of the leash. So you're working at the other end, and I'm going to slip on a D-ring. Now, if you don't want to do the snack bag part, you can go ahead and skip the D-ring, but you're still going to fold it over 7.5 inches, and make sure that when you fold it over, you're folding it over to the same side for the swivel hook as well. So they both have the raw edge on one side. Once you have it folded over 7.5 inches, you can go ahead, turn this under about 1/4 inch, and then you're going to stitch across several times right here on the edge. After this is stitched down, take your D-ring, move it all the way over as far as it can go, and then you're going to go back to your machine and you're going to stitch as close as you can right across here. So then this is going to be stuck in its own little pocket. I did my second stitch right here, so now my D-ring is in its nice little pocket there, nice and secure, and I still have a decent size handle here. Even if you didn't want to do a D-ring, you should already have your handle, so now your leash is complete if you choose not to do the treat bag, but for the rest of us, let's go ahead and get started on that. From the treat bag pattern, you're going to cut 2 out of your main and 2 out of your lining fabric. Now this mark right here should be marked on the pattern pieces that you cut out of your main fabric, and these dots here, you should definitely transfer those dots to your lining after you cut them out. Cut your hook and loop closure 2.5 inches. You're going to separate it. I'm going to place one here on this lining and one on this lining. You're placing it on the right side of the lining and you're going to pin it into place, and you can see I'm matching it up with these dots. So the top of the hook and loop goes at the dots, which is about 5/8 of an inch down from the top here. Using a regular straight stitch, sew around the perimeter of your hook and loop fastener for each side. Take one of your main pieces and place it right side up. You should have an X here from our pattern piece. So I'm going to cut my twill tape. Now you can use twill tape or ribbon, and this is 1/4 inch in width, and I just cut it about 2 inches. I'm going to slip it on the end of my latch here. Fold this in half so the raw ends meet, and then I'm going to place it here on my X, and I'm just going to do a quick little basting stitch across here to hold it into place. Next, you're going to take your 2 pieces and you're going to place them on top of each other, right side to right side. You're going to want to make sure that you have the snap going towards the middle, and you're going to sew a 1/4 inch seam allowance on 3 sides. So this side, and this side. We're going to ignore these little corner areas and the top part. So again, this side, and this side. And then you're going to do the exact same thing for your 2 lining pieces. Again, I'm doing a 1/4 inch seam. Don't forget to do your back stitch on the beginning and end of each of your seams that you're doing for this main fabric and then for the lining. And be careful that you keep your snap out of the way, because we don't want to accidentally hit that with our needle. Next, we're going to take care of our corners. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lift one side, and then you want to make sure that you kind of press your seam allowances open best you can. I know it's really hard, but just do the best you can. And I'm going to bring them together so the seam allowances meet. So I'm sticking my thumb in here to kind of help me, because you want this part to kind of separate. So the seam allowances come together, you're going to flatten it, and it's going to look like this, and then you're just going to stitch across 1/4 inch seam allowance just like we did before. And then I would do the same thing over on this side. So I'm putting my thumb in here to help me out. Bring the seam allowances together, flatten this out, stitch a 1/4 inch seam allowance, and then I would do the same thing for my lining piece. Flip your main fabric right side out. So this is what my little bag looks like right now. And I'm going to have my lining, but it's still wrong side out. So my hook and loop is on the inside, and now I'm going to stick this inside the main. So I'm looking at the right side on the outside of the treat bag, and if I look on the inside, I'm also looking at the right side of the lining. Once I put all this in here, you're going to pin all along this outside top edge, and then you're just going to do a quick basting stitch just to hold the 2 together. The last thing I need to do is add the ribbon to the top so we can kind of finish this raw edge up here. So I'm going to grab my ribbon, And you can see it's the right side of the ribbon is showing, and I'm looking at the right side of the lining, and it's just going to be pinned on the inside. Now ideally I like to start this at the side seam where my clasp is, but just because it's easier for me to show you, I'm just going to start right here. I want the ribbon, the bottom of the ribbon, to be 3/8 of an inch down from this top raw edge. I just happen to do my basting stitch at the 3/8 line, so I'm going to use that as my guideline. So the bottom of the ribbon is going to line up with the top of my basting stitch, and I'm just going to pin it like this all the way around, and then you're going to do another basting stitch to hold the ribbon in place on the inside. Now once this gets wrapped around and you have the other end overlapping with this end, all I do is I just take this one, I fold it under about 1/4 of an inch, you can see that's folded, and then I just lay it on top of it. You don't have to fold this one, just the one that's going to be on top here, you want to fold it. So then when it gets folded to the outside, it's going to look a lot nicer. Lastly, you're going to take the top of this ribbon, fold it over to the right side, and then you're going to pin and top stitch it into place. Now you want to make sure you don't go too close to the edge because we want to make sure we catch the ribbon on the inside of our treat bag. So I'd go just up a little ways and then stitch right there, and you're going to do it around the whole bag. Doing the top stitch for this ribbon I know is not easy because it is such a small area, so I have to keep checking the opposite side of the bag, folding it out of the way to make sure I'm not accidentally sewing it. I go a little ways, and then with the needle down, I kind of rotate my bag again. And again, check to make sure that I don't have the opposite side underneath so I don't accidentally sew my bag closed. So you just kind of have to go slow and keep checking to make sure that you're sewing exactly what you need to sew. Look how cute this matching set is. So I have my little treat bag, and the swivel quick snap is attached to the D-ring on the leash. So it's still out of the way but easily accessible if you want to give your dog treats on a walk. If you make one of these for your own dog, please send us a picture. New tutorials are released weekly, so please subscribe to be notified of the next release. Make sure to check out our other videos and visit ProfessorPincushion.com to view our complete library with well over 200 sewing video tutorials, including our exclusive premium content. Our premium membership is only $5 a month for unlimited access and only available at ProfessorPincushion.com. Also, don't forget to download our mobile app for videos on the go. Thanks for watching.